Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Solipsist Reviews, or whatever this show is called. I am your host, the Social Solipsist, and today we're taking a look at Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. And by that I mean, be glad you're not looking at Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. I was instructed to watch this via call-out by my so-called friend, Spencer. Fuck you, guy, for making me watch this absolute waste of time. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't have any kind of expectations going into this, but I hoped it would be better than this. This so-called film, which was a direct-to-TV / direct-to-VHS film at some point, is one of the worst things that I have ever watched, bar none. It is painful to get through for a great many reasons. And yet, there's a few weird things about it that made it not 100% a waste of time. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still 99% a waste of time, and you absolutely should not try and find it or watch it. Let it lie. It was a TV movie made in, 1978, I believe. It's atrocious. But there's some weird stuff in it. Now, I'm not going to do a plot recap, because there's no plot to recap. Spoilers for the next literally about 10 seconds. The entire plot is Kiss is playing a concert at a theme park. They get captured by a wacky Scooby-Doo villain who replicates them into robots and then does the bad things, and then they defeat them. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the whole plot. It's trash. It's the worst. And you know what the worst part of it is? Pretty much all of the plot happens in the second half of the film. There's a whole first half of this film with its own subplots that literally just end halfway through the film and don't go anywhere. Now, don't get me wrong, the second half also doesn't go anywhere, because it ends very abruptly with Kiss defeating their robot alter egos, and suddenly everything is hunky-dory. Or so you would think. But it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. So I think to talk about the next bit, I have to delve into the so-called plot a little bit. And it gets confusing immediately, because the villain makes replicas of the Kiss members as robots, and most of the baddies that Kiss fights in, no joke, hand-to-hand combat for most of the film are also robots. But there's an entire non-Kiss related subplot that actually starts out and exists in the first half of the film, where he has an assistant who he has converted his body into being controlled like one of the robots, but he's not a robot, because at the end they pull a resistor out of his neck, which was plainly visible, and then suddenly he's back to being a human. So what the fuck? So that does raise the other questions of, there's the whole beginning of the film is presented like a horror film where people have been going missing in this park, and it's heavily implied that the villain has been kidnapping them and then killing them and turning them into either killing them or directly converting them into automatons of some kind, androids, whatever. And there's this subplot in the beginning of the film where he does that to some like misbehaving kids in the park. And by kids, I mean like 40-year-olds who are pretending to be like punks. It's fucking terrible. It's all terrible. I'm so upset that I spent time watching this film. And I didn't even watch it. I was like doing other shit at the same time. So I barely watched it, and it was still a huge waste of time. I'm so upset about this. This whole this review is gonna go off the fucking rails. I mean, it already has, but we're just caveat emptor. The whole idea of a production like this is similar to like the Beatles movies. Is that you want to? It's supposed to be like promotional material of one kind or another for the band in question. Except everything about this is terrible. Like, they don't integrate Kiss. While Kiss are the main characters for a decent chunk of it, they're also like 5 or 6 songs, full songs, that they play in stock concert footage, or like pre-recorded concert footage that at this concert that they play in the park. So the question has to be raised, like, who is this for? And the answer is nobody. Like, unequivocally, it's nobody. Because it's not for adults, because there's a lot of stuff that's toned down or, like, not talked about, so you don't see, you know, like, they very clearly, like, make it robots and stuff, so, and, like, shout out, hey, they're just robots! So that you know that Kiss isn't killing anyone. But then there's like this whole horror aspect of the dude killing and or kidnapping people and making them disappear and all this. And then some of the enemies that Kiss fights are like a vampire and a Frankenstein's monster and a mummy and a wolf man. So it's not for adults, but it's also not for kids either, because there's like even if it's not even coherent enough for kids and is not very kid friendly, and it's not for Kiss fans either, which I unequivocally am not. But no fan of any band would want to see their favorite band do this. It's terrible. Like, even with Kiss, who have like sort of a storyline going on in like the fiction of their band, of like the characters they play, it's just trash. It's trash all around. I don't even know why I'm trying to explain my thoughts and feelings on it. I might just paste my fucking notes into the description here. Or you can leave me a note if you want me to send them to you. But boy, it's so incoherent. And Kiss are terrible actors. Like, almost to the point of being campy bad, but not enough. They're just bad. Gene Simmons in particular, like, really doesn't seem like he wants to be there. Or maybe that's just his character. I don't know Kiss well enough. I'm totally baffled by this production. The problem is I feel like somebody had a vision, and somebody put in money, and somebody put in effort. It's not nothing, but like, holy shit, is it terrible. I know I'm just sitting here saying that, but I cannot express enough how bad this film is. I had forgotten. I had to look. I looked it up after. This film is so bad that I forgot that Red Letter Media had it on the Halloween special of Best of the Worst. Not last year, I don't think, but maybe the year before. It's so terrible and unmemorable in any way, shape, or form that I forgot they had watched it. It's just that, like, if that's not an indictment of this having no value, I don't know what is. So, in the interest of not rambling on for another half an hour and just annoying you, repeating myself, let me skip to the, like, hard review portion. Now, I don't do this typically because I don't really think numerical reviews are very useful when talking about art. But this isn't art, so fuck it. You're getting numerical reviews. Okay, so let's start with the premise. The premise, 5 out of 10. Don't worry, we're starting better than you think. The premise is pretty interesting. The premise of, like, a guy who does animatronics at a theme park is actually kidnapping and killing people and implanting them with robotic parts and programming them to be his minions. Except for that whole premise is subverted within, like, 20 or 30 minutes. So, no points. 5 out of 10. The story is a 1 out of 10 because, as I've said, whatever minimal plot there is, and there are multiple plot lines, they all peter out or dead end, or and they are so incoherent and without content that they get nothing. The photography is like a 2 out of 10. And I'm only not giving it a 1 because I didn't explicitly see any, like, fucked up shots that clearly should have been retaken. Like somebody falling and they just didn't reshoot it, or like a boom in the shot or a crew member in the shot, which is a hallmark of the, like, straight to TV or, like, cheap movie schlock from the 70s and 80s. Like, that's a hallmark of that. And that would, in fact, if that had happened, it would have gained points because that adds some character to this. This is a totally characterless film. The acting is a 2 out of 10. The Kiss are all terrible except for what is it, Ace Feely, I think, who is, like, just so ridiculous that you almost want to laugh. And then and it's also, yeah, I mean, it's the choreography is not totally incompetent. But as with the photography, like, every shot is terribly framed and, like, flat on a still camera. It's just bad. The stunts themselves, I'm going to give, like, a 4 out of 10 because they're not terrible, especially for well, I say cheap film, but I don't actually know how much this cost to make. For a non, like, in theaters film, there's not, like, stunts, but somebody managed to actually do some choreography. I don't know why, but they did. And it's mostly terrible, but it's not completely terrible. Now, the one decent thing is the VFX, which I didn't expect to exist at all, and yet they do. And they're actually pretty good, especially for a TV film. There's some, like, decent practical special effects, like pyro and stuff, and there's some decent like post-production effects as well. They aren't totally shit. It's actually pretty well composited. So 6 out of 10 for the VFX, bordering on a 7. I was mildly pleased. The one thing, I don't have a place to put this, but somehow they got Brion James for this film to play a guard. You know, the guy who's actually a character actor from actual films, like Blade Runner. Somehow he's in here. I think there's some other slightly notable actors in here, but he was the most recognizable to me. The only one I knew the name of. So there's that. Yeah. This is the appropriate way to end this video, is for it just to peter out like this. Okay, well, in the interest of, continuing this saga, and because I actually care about my friend Spencer and want him to have a decent time watching something, I am going to do a reverse call out and say that he needs to watch... What is he going to watch? I'm trying to pick right now. He's going to watch 1994's Interview with a Vampire. So I look forward to seeing that review. I should note that all of my suggestions I either have watched or will watch before he does. So I know what he's getting into. Spencer, if you have watched Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, I'm sorry. But I think that actually makes its suggestion even worse. But I digress. Interview with a Vampire, 1994. I look forward to seeing your review.